Akane! Look at this man and be amazed!
Not quite.
Say what?
My balls!
Huh?
My balls are gone!
Hello, Melvin.
Now where did this bitch come from?
I have no idea.
Her first crush, too.
Oh no, he's hot!
Why? Bye, my piggy. I loved it, you piggy. I loved it, you.
You know, man, if I had a nickel for every time an anime rom-com revolved around two guys losing their balls, well, I'd have 2 nickels. It's not a lot, but it's weird that that specific thing happened twice, right? Yeah, today I wanted to compare and contrast Ranma 1/2 with DanDaDan, 2 anime rom-coms recently released on Netflix. One of the main reasons I wanted to compare these two is that, despite using similar tropes, they take vastly different approaches as to how they're used, as well as the writing. We can also take a look at how anime rom-coms have changed over the years, as these 2 mangas were actually separated by a couple decades. So buckle up for some laughs and a whole lot of nudity. Just a reminder, you probably shouldn't watch this with your kids. Also, probably needless to say, but there is going to be spoilers ahead for both of these shows. Now let me give you a brief rundown about what they are. Both were originally shown in mangas that got their own animes. Although this Ranma 1/2 show is new, the original story isn't, and it was made during the 80s, even having another anime made decades ago. Although, like I explained in the censorship video, about half of the older anime was original content, not from the manga. The newer anime actually follows the story and the author's intent far better than that one. The story centers around a young man named Ranma, of course, who fell into a cursed pool that turns him into a girl when he is hit with cold water, and hot water just changes him back, as well as a young tomboy named Akane, who hates men. The two have been forced into an arranged marriage by their dads and are now forced to spend time together despite hating and constantly arguing with each other. Throughout the series, though, they get into all sorts of wacky shenanigans like fighting in a gymnastics fight over Rama's hand in marriage, or the ice skating death match over a literal pig. Slowly, as they each grow closer,
It'd be better to do this with someone you like, wouldn't it?
Oh, yeah. I must not be good enough for you.
You know that's not what I was saying! Because I don't want to do it if it's a big deal, you know?
So cute.
So cute.
only to usually be derailed by a misunderstanding or new character joining the cast.
Now where did this bitch come from?
I have no idea.
Yeah, that character was named Shampoo. She's actually a Chinese Amazon who recently got beaten by Ranma in his female form, and then gave him her the kiss of death. As apparently Chinese Amazons have a lot in common with the Godfather. However, when she goes to Japan in search for girl Ranma, she runs into guy Ranma, who accidentally beats her this time, but instead of giving him the kiss of death, she just straight up Frenches him. As it turns out, when a girl beats a Chinese Amazon, they have to swear undying vengeance upon them, whereas if a guy beats a Chinese Amazon, they are apparently now their husbands. So now she's constantly trying to be with Ranma while also trying to kill Ranma. There's also Ryuga, who is Akane's love interest, who is also her pet pig, even though she doesn't quite know it yet, as well as the fact that he is actually competing with Ranma for her attention, which also goes over her head. There's also a dozen of other assortment goofy characters like Ranma's dad, who turns into a panda for most of the day, the good doctor who fell for Akane's older sister when she was 15, yeah, her other sister who sells photos of her and Ranma in his girl form to creeps for money.
A set of 5 for 3,000 yen.
This is my girl with the braid! Oh, her guard's all the way down.
Kinda like a boy, right? It's not very respectable. You switched off Akane way too fast.
Who said I switched off?
So in other words, you're wanting to two-time this girl. Set of 5 for 4,000.
You heartless entrepreneur! Deal!
Cash, please.
Hey, yo! That's fucking sus.
Also Akane's dad, who really doesn't do jack shit. And that's not even half of them. On to DanDaDan though, it's based on a newer manga made in 2021 and focuses on comedy, action, romance, and a little bit of body horror, and surprisingly juggles them pretty well. It even tackles drama pretty well, bringing out some of the most heartbreaking scenes imaginable straight out of nowhere, usually following something crazy. Just like Ranma, the story also centers around 2 high school kids, Momo Aiza and Ken Takakura. Momo is a popular girl that believes in the supernatural, while Kin is a sci-fi nerd. The two make a bet, wound up with Momo almost getting probed by aliens and Kin losing his bait and tackle to a ghost called Turbo Granny. And now the two seem to be stuck together, but they generally like each other's company. The two unlock supernatural powers and then set off on a journey to retrieve Kin's manhood, as well as grappling with their feelings towards each other in comedic ways, only to again be derailed by side characters, like her.
Alright, I guess this is the night bitches die.
That's Arya, the school's idol with a god complex, and has got her own set of supernatural powers that she got when she was attempting to exorcise Momo for being a satanic devil worshipper. After nearly getting everybody killed, and then getting rescued by Momo and Kin, she develops an attraction towards Kin. Unfortunately, Kin is a nerd, and nerds tend to be smart, and smart people tend not to stick it in crazy. Oh, then there's also Jin, Momo's old crush, but he kinda sucks. Unfortunately, Kin can't see past something.
Oh no, he's hot!
And again, there's tons of other crazy characters. The Turbo Granny that originally stole Kin's Johnson is now trapped in this cat statue, and just kinda hangs out with them, as well as Momo's weirdly hot grandmother and these really creepy aliens.
Perform the operation. We will gently sever your banana.
I think we can count that as the shit got real moment.
That's the basic plots of the shows, but how do they approach their comedy and romances? Looking at the comedy, in Ranma, things are relatively low stakes, where people tend to roll with the insanity like it's nothing. Like, say, Ranma, his dad's, or the others' transformations. Yeah, see, it just plays it relatively straight, and that's in stark contrast to DanDaDan, in which they are pretty high stakes where they could actually die and are generally freaking out at the circumstances that they are in. Ranma is usually cutting whatever tension they build up with a joke. And just look at the last episode. In it, we get Shampoo literally brainwashing Akane to forget who Ranma is, so Ranma decides to set out on a journey to China to get the antidote. Only for Shampoo to show up and immediately show that she has the antidote. When Ranma tries to take it from her, things don't go great, and decides to try to make a deal with Shampoo to get the shampoo back, which Shampoo agrees to, and the only thing she asks him to do is kill the girl Ranma, which he agrees to. So now the part of the episode is him just trying to fake his own death, which leads to both Akane's dad and his just beating the crap out of him. And this was after asking Ryuga to do it, but accidentally beating the crap out of Ryuga. This goes nowhere, as Akane just snaps back to it after Ranma tells her the thing that he always tells her. Then when Shampoo comes busting in the door like the Kool-Aid Man yet again, Ranma just decides to get the farce over with and tell her the truth so she'd stop trying to kill Akane. And once he tells her she's the girl Ranma, Shampoo almost seems like she's about to kill her, only to start crying and then just leaves out the hole she came in. Never to be seen again, he said sarcastically. And this is a very old comedy strategy that we can still see used in shows like Star Wars Skeleton Crew primarily. And even DanDaDan does a couple of these jokes here and there, particularly when Momo's grandma leads her to think that Kin was killed by her, only to reveal that, nah, he's just eating rice balls in a shed. However, in DanDaDan, the comedy comes more from the reaction to the situation, which is usually panic or confusion of it. Take this hallway scene. After the two were fighting an aquatic aliens that were again trying to kill them, the two wind up in their birthday suits right outside the hallways of their school. Originally, they're overjoyed that they survived yet another counterattack. The only problem is, they are now outside naked, and everybody can see them, which they couldn't before when the aliens were attacking. Guess what their reaction is? Yep, sheer and utter terror. After that, they just get sent to the nurse's office, who is, I swear, a part-time dominatrix, who is questioning kids whether or not they were being bullied or forced into this stuff, which all of them say no. Only for another guy to come in and then starts getting whipped by the nurse for some reason. Again, it's just spiraling. There's always a new, crazier thing twist to it. It's not being undercut, it's just kinda adding on to. On top of that, there's also usually a lesson learned at a lot of these crazier events, such as the dummy episode, where they spent most of the time just getting jumped by a dummy, then chasing after it, only to wind up in a junkyard where it's trying to profess its love to its long-lost girl mannequin who was thrown away. Yeah, right after that great speech, which I probably won't be able to show you since it's probably going to get copyrighted, in which case I'm sorry for not showing that to you, Kin actually realizes that, oh yeah, he's in love with Momo, not just as friends. So there's again usually a point to the madness, or it just keeps spiraling into an even bigger joke. This can have a downside, but I'll get to that in the con section. Now, what about the romance, since that is directly tied to the comedy at some points? Namely, like I said, the two main leads, Rama and Kane, are surprisingly a lot alike, which makes them perfect for each other as well as terrible for each other. They're both martial artists and incredibly strong and could probably take down most of the other people in the series, albeit for a couple of people, with Ranma clearly being the better. As once the two don't get along, they start to be incredibly stubborn and bullheaded about everything the other one says, constantly taking anything they say as an insult, which causes the other one to react accordingly, or just being too ashamed to admit their feelings. Of course, this starts breaking down. They start doing smaller things, like comforting Ranma when he accidentally gets kissed by a pig, or Rama defending her from the pig for the same reason, and then actually declaring his love to everybody in that ice skating death match. It is a slow burn romance done right. Meanwhile, in DanDaDan, Momo and Kin are basic polar opposites, yet they are almost always on the same wavelength. They get along really well and generally like spending time with each other, usually only butting heads when there is a misunderstanding or a serious threat to their lives.
I want to talk to Miss Ayase about ghosts. And she totally wanted to talk to me too. But I was so nervous I couldn't. She must think I'm a jerk.
I want to talk to Okaroon. I want to find out what he thinks aliens eat, and if they poop or wear underwear.
How could you be such a dumb dummy, Ken?
I want to talk to Okaroon.
I have to fix it between us or she'll hate me forever.
I want to talk to him. I gotta talk to him.
However, another weird thing about them is how they specifically use the tropes of this genre specifically. Namely, like the misunderstanding. Both Rama and Kin basically get caught in horrible positions with other women, and both try to basically explain it away. While in Ranma, this does not go well and instead makes it actually worse, as when he starts trying to tell Shampoo to go away and that this was just a mistake, she, not really speaking Japanese, just kind of wispily falls into his arms, and then he starts noticeably getting flustered and blushing right in the sight of Akane.
So anyway, like I was trying to tell you, I think we should take more time to learn about each other. I'm not a fan of the idea of marrying someone I don't even know.
Oh dear, look at how wound up he is. It's fun watching them, huh,
Meanwhile, there are about a dozen other misunderstandings like this that usually go unresolved. And that's usually what happens with most animes that use this trope. However, it is not what happens in DanDaDan, where the misunderstanding is cleared up almost immediately in the next couple of episodes, and all is forgiven.
How about you explain what you were doing? Out back with her during lunch?
Oh. Miss Shiratori tried to kiss me all of a sudden.
Huh?
It's true! Then we struggled and we fell, and then you saw us.
Really? What were you doing back there in the first place? Come on, spill it.
I was working out. Push-ups and stuff.
For real?
I wanted to get stronger.
If that's all you were doing, why keep it a secret?
If you saw I got stronger suddenly, I'd look cooler for it.
That's hilarious. To think you got a weird vein side.
Of course I have.
It's small changes to old tropes like that that make a very big difference. Or take another one, the number of love interests the show inserts into the plot. A lot of anime like Ranma typically have many options, usually most for just cheap laughs, like the figure skater that's just kissing random people that just assumes every woman is in love with him, or the guy that wants to date both him and Akane. Again, most of these guys are just one note, but in DanDaDan, they are, let's say, fewer, as there's only two, one for each, and they actually have a lot more plot relevancy, and help move both the story as well as the characters forward. Arya originally found one of Kin's balls, which also led to her getting her own powers that seemed to look a lot like his. Jin wasn't a guy that just showed up out of the blue for Momo, but actually needed them to help exorcise a ghost, which is something her grandmother actually does, but needs her to do it since her powers only extend to the boundaries of the city, and he lives out of town. They also have somewhat different dynamics, whereas Ranma and Ryuga are typically rivals for most, if not all of the show, with Akane kinda clueless of Ryuga's affections, or the fact that Ryuga is her pet pig, Pichon, that she sleeps with nightly, and showers with affection, something Ranma absolutely despises. While on the other hand, Ranma is someone Akane clearly wants to be with, which depresses Ryuga. In fact, at one point, he's just going to straight up leave because he doesn't think he actually has a shot with Akane and just wants her to be happy with whoever she chooses. And of course, this is also derailed by Shampoo, who actually tries to cook him for Ranma as a present, and then serves him on a plate right in front of him and Akane in a very hilarious scene.
I do bento box.
Why? Why, my piggy? I loved it, you piggy. I loved it, you.
Meanwhile, in DanDaDan, Kid makes it very clear he has no interest in Arya, which Momo genuinely accepts when he tells her this. Meanwhile, she's actually asking Jin around, not just for the sake of the mission they're currently on, but because she actually wants Kin and him to be friends, while outwardly stating she has no interests in him. Which again, doesn't stop the two boys from fighting, even though we as the audience know only one actually has a shot. And again, it's the same tropes, but just twisted a little bit. And it makes sense, as these two things are separated by decades. DanDaDan is aware you've probably seen most of these tropes before, and either tries to move past them quickly, which I'm a big fan of, or throw curveballs at you that you don't normally expect. Meanwhile, Ranma was one of the bigger pioneers of these old tropes. There are a lot more scenes, but I don't really want to give away spoilers, so I'm just going to move to the cons section. Now, both of these do have two really big cons. One is more obvious, and the other one is more of a personal peeve of mine, and the more personal peeve of mine is actually focused on DanDaDan. I really hate the ending of Season 1. This is kind of that problem I brought up when I said it also juggled things like suspense and horror. And again, this might be good as a storytelling plot, as it makes you want to come back and see what happens, but as a viewer watching it, I really just want to know what's happening, especially since where you leave a couple of the characters is not in a very good place. And ending it right in the middle of a story is always going to make you feel less satisfied. And frankly speaking, a lot of the shifting tones might give you whiplash, as one episode will be genuinely very calm and relaxed, only for them to crank it to 11 in the next following episode with some kind of crazy over-the-top battle, against either demons or aliens. Meanwhile, Ranma has a more arguably objective criticism, and that's, if you don't really like the comedy, you're probably not really going to like the show. And even if you don't really like the comedy in DanDaDan, it does have a few more things to hook you, such as the horror or suspense angle or the over-the-top action, as it uses creative settings, powers, and even monsters in its battle scenes, whereas while Ranma's are good and focuses more on a martial arts aspect that I'm pretty sure a lot of people do like, it doesn't exactly have that same spectacle or hook that DanDaDan does. You can find something else to like in DanDaDan if you don't like the comedy, whereas if you really don't love the comedy of Ranma 1/2, you're really going to be struggling to find more things that'll probably attract you. However, on the whole, I do think these are both shows that are worth checking out. And maybe even watch them back to back, as you can see how rom-coms and anime have changed over the years. They're funny, heartfelt, have a couple really good fights, and animation-wise, they are just good to look at. And this is where I think I'll wrap it up. If you've seen the shows, what do you wish I had talked about more? What do you want me to talk about later? And thanks for stopping by.